It feels like Justin Bieber has been haunted by his past for years, especially by his history with Selena Gomez. Every breakup, every emotional song, every cryptic post since 2018 has seemed like an attempt to prove he's finally moved on from her. But when you really look at the evidence, it tells a different story. From the lyrics in his songs to the impulsive decisions in his love life, everything points to a guy still trying to close a chapter that refuses to end. When Justin married Hailey Baldwin just months after his final breakup with Selena in 2018, it shocked everyone. People thought, wow, that was fast. It didn't seem like he had even given himself a chance to breathe before running into another lifelong commitment. At first, the courthouse wedding, the endless social media posts, and the over-the-top affection made it look like he was head over heels in love. But under the surface, it started to feel more like Justin was trying to prove something, to himself and maybe even to Selena. Deep down, it seemed like he was still emotionally tied to that old flame. And that's what makes his story so interesting. From sudden proposals to emotional meltdowns and lyrics that sound suspiciously familiar, Justin's every move since then has felt like an effort to break free from the shadow of Selena Gomez. And honestly, that wedding ring didn't mark the end of that story. It just opened another complicated chapter. Justin and Selena had officially ended things for good in early 2018, after years of breaking up and getting back together. By September of that same year, he was already married. No long engagement, no time off to reflect or heal, nothing. Just straight from heartbreak to wedding vows. To the public, it might have looked like a fairy tale romance, but to those paying attention, it felt more like a rush to escape something he couldn't face. You could even sense it in Justin's interviews. He would talk about Hailey like she was a blessing from God, but his expressions and tone told another story. It didn't sound like peace. It sounded like a man trying to convince himself he was okay, and that left Hailey in an impossible position. She became the person picking up all the emotional pieces he hadn't dealt with. She wasn't just a wife. She was almost like his emotional caretaker. Many people thought marriage would finally help Justin move on and find stability. But that's not what happened. Instead, it was the start of a long emotional breakdown. After the wedding glow faded, things started getting dark quickly. Reports from people close to Justin said he was struggling badly just a few months into marriage. And it wasn't just the typical adjustment period. It was more like he was questioning everything. His choices, his happiness, his identity. Even Hailey admitted that there were days she wasn't sure he'd be okay. Imagine being in your early 20s, newly married, and suddenly having to carry someone else's emotional weight. That's not a peaceful marriage. That's survival mode. Justin himself later confessed that he thought marriage would fix all his problems, but it didn't. He said it outright. He believed settling down would heal him, but it only exposed how broken he really was. He wanted Hailey to fill a void that no one else could fix. And at times, you could see it. There was one moment that really stood out. When they were spotted together at Universal Studios, Hailey was doing her best to keep things light, smiling and holding his hand, but Justin looked completely drained. His body was there, but his mind seemed far away. It was like he had moved on physically, but his heart was still stuck in the past. Hailey kept trying to hold everything together. She wanted to be his peace, his support system, his safe space. But the truth was, Justin was still fighting battles from years before. That realization started to hit fans hard. This wasn't the picture-perfect marriage people imagined. It was two people trying to patch up one person's heartbreak. And the more Justin tried to act like everything was fine, the more obvious it became that something was off. The smiles in public felt forced. The interviews sounded rehearsed, and his energy seemed heavy. He was putting on a show of happiness, but underneath, he looked haunted by the same person he was trying so hard to forget. It didn't take long for fans to start connecting the dots. Around this time, Justin's new music started to raise eyebrows. The lyrics hinted at regret, loss, and unfinished feelings. They sounded like letters to someone from his past, someone he couldn't let go of, no matter how hard he tried. Every word, every note, felt like another piece of evidence that Justin wasn't truly free. His songs sounded like journal entries from someone still stuck between love and regret. And each time Selena made a big move, whether it was a new relationship, a music release, or a public appearance, Justin's reactions online would follow not long after. It became a pattern people couldn't ignore. Fans noticed how his mood shifts, his song themes, even some of his posts seemed to line up with Selena's moments in the spotlight. It was like no matter how far he tried to run from that past, it always found a way to catch up with him. What made it even sadder was how clear it became that Justin wasn't just trying to prove his love for Hailey, he was trying to prove to himself that he'd moved on. But the harder he tried, the more transparent his struggle became. You could feel the tension between who he wanted to be and what he still felt inside. Hailey was trying to build a life with him, but she was building on shaky ground. The marriage wasn't born from peace or closure. It came out of exhaustion and heartbreak. And while she stood beside him through his breakdowns, therapy sessions, and emotional lows, it still looked like he was chasing a kind of peace that couldn't come from anyone else but himself. If you knew Justin and Selena's history, you'd understand why so many people can read between the lines of his songs. When Justin released Ghost and sang about being haunted by someone he couldn't have, fans instantly connected it to Selena Gomez. Social media went wild with theories. that he still wanted her, that he couldn't move on, that he was still trapped in his past. And honestly, when you really listen to the lyrics, it's hard not to feel like every line is him wrestling with the memory of what he lost. But it wasn't just the music. Justin's interviews gave away more than he probably intended. He talked about love, heartbreak, and regret in ways that felt far too specific to ignore. Every time he mentioned mistakes or lessons learned, fans couldn't help but link his words back to his on and off relationship with Selena. It was as if even when he didn't say her name, she was still part of the conversation. Even in public, Justin's reactions seemed to tell their own story. During interviews or red carpet moments, the smallest expressions, a tense smile, a sudden pause, would spark entire online debates. Fans started analyzing his body language, claiming they could see flashes of sadness or nostalgia whenever the topic of his past came up. And maybe they weren't wrong, because Justin's emotional patterns often seemed to follow Selena's milestones. Every time Selena made a big move, releasing new music, appearing at an event, or even being spotted with someone new, Justin's songs or social media posts would show up right after. It created this ongoing cycle where his actions almost seemed like a quiet response to her life. It painted the image of a man who might have said he moved on, but whose heart hadn't completely caught up. Then came the public side of it. The part that made people believe Justin was trying to rewrite his story in front of everyone. From the moment he married Hailey, his behavior felt almost performative. The constant affection online, the romantic captions, the endless vacation photos, it all looked a little too intentional. Fans began noticing that many of these big romantic gestures lined up perfectly with moments from Selena's life. When she had something major going on, suddenly Justin and Hailey were everywhere, being extra public about their love. It felt like he was competing with a ghost, trying to prove that his new story was happier than the old one. Even the little things seemed calculated. His songs, interviews, and candid photos with Hailey all had the same energy, as if they were created to deliver one message: I'm happy now, I've moved on. But the timing and tone made people question whether that happiness was real or just an act meant to silence the doubts, both his own and everyone else's. Behind the polished Instagram posts, though there were moments that didn't fit the picture, there were awkward exchanges, lingering looks, and a kind of tension that didn't match the image of a man completely at peace. Fans pointed out how certain interviews or paparazzi videos caught him looking distant or uncomfortable, like something was still unresolved. It was subtle, but enough to make people wonder if he was still emotionally caught between the life he had and the one he was trying to build. And just when it seemed like things had settled down, 2023 reignited everything. The internet exploded when news broke that Selena Gomez was engaged to Benny Blanco. Not long after, Justin posted a meme from Lord of the Rings joking about how women act after getting engaged. The timing was too perfect to ignore, and fans immediately took it as a response to Selena's big news. Whether it was meant as a joke or not, it came off as a dig, or maybe a glimpse into emotions he hadn't fully buried. Then things started getting strange. Around the same time Selena and Benny were celebrating their wedding in Santa Barbara, Justin's social media became a stream of cryptic activity. One post showed him playing basketball with the song I Do playing in the background, a detail that didn't go unnoticed. It felt like an unspoken reaction to Selena saying those very words to someone else. After that, he began posting random photos, casual clips, and short captions that fans immediately tried to decode. People couldn't tell if he was making fun of the situation, expressing regret, or simply venting emotions he couldn't put into words. Whatever it was, it didn't look like a coincidence. It was the online version of an emotional outburst. Messy, confusing, and maybe even a little painful to watch. Meanwhile, Selena was radiant at her wedding. Pictures showed her glowing in a Ralph Lauren gown, surrounded by loved ones, clearly stepping into a new chapter of her life. Everything about her day, from the joy on her face to the heartfelt toasts, looked peaceful and sure. But when you compared that calm to Justin's restless online presence, the contrast was almost striking. She looked like someone who had found closure, while he looked like someone still searching for it. Over the years, Justin has done everything possible to prove he's moved on. Getting married, writing songs, making public gestures, and carefully crafting an image of happiness. But somehow, no matter what he does, Selena's shadow still seems to follow him. Every lyric, every post, every emotional slip seems to circle back to that same story, one that never fully ended. It's not just fans romanticizing the past either. The timeline, the coincidences, the reactions, they all fit too neatly to ignore. Justin's actions often feel like echoes of a love he can't quite escape. No matter how many new chapters he tries to start, he may have built a new life, but parts of him still seem stuck replaying the old one. For fans, it's like watching someone fight a battle within themselves, between letting go and holding on. Justin's story has become one of love, regret, and trying to find peace after losing something that defined so much of who he was. And even now, years later, it feels like a part of him still hasn't stopped thinking about Selena. Maybe that's what makes it all so heartbreaking. He's done everything in his power to prove that chapter is closed. But no matter how far he runs, the past keeps finding its way back into his music, his words, and his life. Some connections, no matter how much time passes, just refuse to fade.